Hey there, everyone. Sorry I've been away for a while. Been busy with some IRL stuff. But I'm here to show you a little sneak preview of my series of updated books that I'm now updating with new artwork. Um, in this section, I'll cover the Unity setting book. That's the second timeline, the dystopian timeline for my Edge role playing game, and also the um, free one shot that comes with it, the Ravenous Caverns one shot. So let me just go through this real quick. So the Unity book has been updated. I updated the layouts, added a forward here, and then actually let's zoom in for a bit so you can get a better view. So you got some better artwork here, as you can see. And this is just a general overlook of the world, how stuff works. So this is a dystopian timeline. It's a mixture of sort of like a kind of a unique post-apocalyptic scenario. You got these pretty weird races in this one. This is probably the most unique in terms of the races you can play. Like for example, you have the Ascended, which are basically a race that was made that are descendants of like genetically spliced ancestors of all the races on Gaia. Then you have the Wilders, similar but just from beast-like races. And then you got like the Avians, which is also same thing but for birds. Aquans for aquatic creatures. So there was a lot of genetic experimentation going on. So we got a lot of unique races. The Ashen are not genetically experimented on. They're just actual descendants of the Primals and the Ashen. If Primals and the Magnos, if you played the Gaia setting. Outlanders, basically just normal descendants of the Primorians. And then you got the Scorians, which are descendants of the Gaians, which is one of my favorite races that I made. They're basically scrap metal golems. Pretty cool stuff. And the Voidborn, which are pretty crazy looking race. They're like crystalline beings from another dimension, if you will. And that's it for the races. So you got 8 races to play in this setting. And you got all the factions. All the major factions. You got a nice little map here of the mainland, which is in the center, and the wasteland around it. There's no oceans in this world. I'll explain at the end why. So this is like a dystopian autocratic government in the center, and then a crazy chaotic wasteland around it. So you got all these crazy factions. You got some faction leaders here. Got some locations. These are all the locations that are in the world. The little, descriptions of each place. And you got religions. So death cults are a big thing in this setting. Malik has been doing overtime, the god of death, in this setting, because there's a lot of cults who worship him. So you got time and money. It's a little short segment. I actually added the little artwork for the crystal coins and the ash coins, which are used in the mainland. You got items, brawling weapons, melee weapons. So I updated all this artwork. Some cool stuff. So you got proper assault rifles here. Nice little attachments section, grenades, all that stuff. Ammunition, armor, shields, and then all the tools. Nice little picture of a perch stem, or a health stem, as it were. Yeah, and these are just all the different items you got, unique items. So a lot of cool stuff in this setting. Very Fallout-ish, this setting. Very sort of... it's been heavily inspired by Fallout, but I've mixed in a lot of other cool stuff. You can even find like these cool magazines that give you permanent bonuses. Then you got vehicles. Quite a few to choose from. Vehicle weapons. Yeah, lots of cool stuff. And then all the creatures in this setting, of course. And you got a lot of cool stuff here as well. You get stuff like death screamers, like these ultimate assassins. Magnus remnants. Earth swarms. These are pretty fucking disgusting things. But yeah, there's a lot of Fallout-ish stuff. Like there's, for instance, there's radioactive zombies, which I thought was pretty fun. Every one of my players hated those when I put them in, because they can actually make you radiated when they hit you. So, and then you got a nice list of creatures by DR, creatures by alphabet, and then you got random encounters, of course, as with every book. You got one table for the mainland and one table for the wasteland. So there's quite a lot of cool, fun stuff here. You can use for random encounters. And then, of course, the world itself. Unity. So, those of you who actually downloaded Gaia or played through my Gaia setting, this is the same planet, by the way. It's just 5,000 years in the future. Now, I won't go into all the details, but there was a world-shattering event called the annulment, which happened, which is what's defined as the post-apocalyptic event that made this world all fucked up. What happened was, basically, so this, if I were to compare this with the Gaia map, I'm not going to pull it up now, but so there used to be an ocean around here, and there used to be islands, and this wasn't one singular landmass, it was split up. But as you can see, if you zoom in, there are scars remaining. See these little lines here? This is because the annulment, which was this magical cataclysm, actually sucked out 90% of the magic in this world and then pulled all the contents together. Now, some of them didn't make it. Like, for instance, you see the Sunken Empire here? This is what remains of the Mycerian Conclave. And they just, basically, their empire just sunk into the ocean because it wasn't a perfect ritual. Like I said, a lot of stuff went wrong. For instance, the ocean dried up because when all the magic disappeared, Viscera's tears, which used to be up here in the top left, they disappeared, and they were the source of infinite water. So when that disappeared, and because all the water was essentially magical in that setting, that all evaporated. So what's left is these little puddles. You can see, like in the south and the north, in the east, there's a puddle here that drips from the river down into the smoldering creek, and then dries up here, gets used up for salt. And then you got a little down here called the Dust Bowl Fjord. You got Outcast Bay up here. These are the only sources of water in the wasteland. And there's a tiny one down here in Bloom Dust. So these are the only sources of water, and then the factions basically made their bases around these parts. So you got one faction up here, the Raiders down here, one down here, one here, and then one at the top. So water and oil, those are the two big things that are fought over. And then the mainland is all kinds of fucked up, but in a different way. So it's like here, it's like in absolute chaos in the wasteland. In the mainland, it's overbearing order. It's just everything is rigidly controlled. It's like Big Brother land. So people live in huge ghettos, as you can see here. You got a massive village called Sovereign's Crown and Sovereign's Cradle, where basically most of the population lives. Again, I won't go into details. You can read for yourself. But it's a pretty dark place. But yeah, it's very fun to play. In. I actually ran a full campaign in this, so that's Unity. I hope you pick it up. It's the same price as it was before, but now it's updated with new artwork. So go ahead and give it a try. So that's Unity. And now let's look at the free one-shot, Ravenous Caverns. So this one-shot, I will say in advance, it deals with cannibals. So those of you who are a little squeamish, maybe this is not for you. Now, rest assured, there's no sort of, there's not any sort of gore porn or anything in this. That's not what I do. But the theme is cannibals, so you gotta dabble in the theme a bit if you want to portray it accurately. So, again, there's no embellishment of gore, but there is some gore in this. So, make sure you know that that's the case before you download it. Otherwise, it's a very fun one shot. I ran it many times with many different groups. A lot of people said this was their favorite of the 3 one shots. So basically, it's you're trapped in the wasteland, where you went with your benefactor Hank, who was basically your bounty hunters who worked for him, and you went with him as hired protection in the wasteland where he was gonna do this weapons deal, and then the weapons deal went wrong. The raiders tried to fuck you over, and you spent the whole night basically in a shootout against them until you lost them in the cover of night. And then the morning after, you wake up and Hank's gone, along with all your credentials and all your money, which you need to get back into the mainland. So your only choice is to, hunt him down and see what happened to him. So that's the premise of the one shot. There's all kinds of crazy stuff you have to deal with in this one because you start in the wasteland, so it's like half of it is outside, half of it is inside. So it's like half wilderness, half dungeon. There's all kinds of stuff, dust storms, flying debris, scorching heat, all this kind of stuff that you have to deal with. There's these random encounters, essentially. You got 3 possible ones here that can happen, depending on which path you take. And then there's one that always happens, the Hermit, and then it goes from there. So that's like the first half, and then the second half is entering the caverns. So the caverns got all kinds of weird stuff like flesh hounds over here. It's not for the squeamish. Let's say this. It's you gotta be ready to kill some cannibals in this. Let me tell you, it's pretty bad. In terms of where you're going in this one shot. But, at the end, you gotta find Hank, get your stuff back, so it's worth it. Yeah, and that's Blood Gobbler, the main boss, who's wearing a skull mask. So, nice guy. Yeah. And you got all the items. So it's very similar to the Valorant's Tomb 1 in Gaia in terms of layout. Because I thought, why change it? Since it works. That's the scrap fort that you gotta go into at some point. All the spells, incantations, yada yada, summons. Added some new artwork to this as well. And you got carnivorous molds, yeah. All kinds of weird creatures in this. So it's like a mixture of like standard like stuff that you would find in something you could find in a Fallout game, plus with a little twist. Because the idea of this setting is because the magic was sucked out of this planet, and before it was pretty much present in everyone and everywhere. The sudden absence of it, caused mutations. So, yeah, the mutations weren't made by radiation. It was just because the magic was sucked out of everything. And then you got pre-made characters. So you got Barry Corgan. He's like a champion. So he's like a tank, a ranged tank, if you will, with a flamethrower and a shotgun. You got Bosco, who's a Scorian. Those are the scrap metal elementals. Dirge, who's a ashen fighter, like a brawler. Greenwood, an earth mage. Reaper, he's a voidborn sniper or voidborn marksman, if you will. Switch, who's a kind of like a stealthy character. And Wilson, who's a avian trader slash he's got an assault rifle, and he can cast astral incantations. So quite a few interesting characters I gave you to play with, and this is where it takes place, in the mosh pit. If you look at the previous map, that's at the bottom of the map. So this is the biggest battlefield in the wasteland, and this is where you start. And you gotta eventually make your way to the Flesh Reaver Caverns. So it's a crazy one-shot, and this is, of course, the map for the one-shot. Pretty big dungeon. You start here, and then you gotta make your way all the way down here, and then all the way down here. So, fun stuff in here. And there's a potential car chase at the end. So, lots of stuff to do. And you got, you also got a player's map here if you want to share it with your players. That's how you do things. But anyway, that's Ravenous Caverns. So this one shot is free. So, why not download it? There's already been like 100 downloads since yesterday. So, go ahead and get it. It's fun. It's free. And it gives you a nice taste of how stuff works in this timeline. And then if you like it enough, you might, buy the Unity book. So, that's it, everyone. Thanks for checking out. This is a sneak peek of the two products, and my next sneak peek is going to be probably the last one, which is the Omniverse timeline, the third and final timeline of the game, once I'm done updating it. And we'll also make a video on that once it's done. And, of course, its associated one-shot. So, thanks for watching. Give it a try. And, like, sub, do all that stuff. And I'll see you later. Bye-bye.